I remember as a child having a fascination and love for animals. I was too young and ignorant at the time to fully understand the true horror of nature. I was aware of the brutality for the most part, but I never let it sink in, never dug deep enough to understand it. I would see the death and bloodshed, but kept telling myself it was natural, and it would all just work itself out somehow. I just tried to stay focused on the good things that I liked about nature instead. I feel like that is what most people do when it comes to nature. They look at what they like and turn a blind eye to everything else. The people that like to call themselves nature lovers often just look at nature on a surface level, without looking at nature as a whole. They will say things like, "Isn't nature beautiful and just full of harmony?" Well, maggots are nature, tapeworms are nature, ticks, leeches, flesh-eating bacteria, contagious diseases are all a part of nature. You will then realize when you look deeper and see nature as a whole, it doesn't seem so beautiful anymore. For people that have trouble seeing the true face of nature, I recommend taking a good long look at insects. The insect world is the stuff of nightmares when it comes to ruthless brutality. I honestly don't know how people can study entomology and not become an ethicist or at least have a similar mindset. For example, there are these wasps called the jeweled cockroach wasp that will find a victim, usually a cockroach, hence the name, but they will take other creatures of similar size. They will then sting the victim, which paralyzes them, and drag them back to a small burrow, which they will stuff the victim inside, laying a single egg on the victim's abdomen. Then the wasp will seal the burrow closed and leave. After a while, the egg will hatch, and the larvae will burrow its way into the body of the victim and begin devouring it from the inside out. Now here's the interesting part. The larvae will instinctively avoid all of the vital organs of the victim and eat only the parts that are not essential to keeping the victim alive. This allows the victim to stay alive for longer, keeping them fresh. So the victim just lays there, helplessly, as their body is being slowly devoured from the inside, completely unable to do anything about it, all while they're still alive. After keeping the victim alive for as long as they can, they will finally finish them off. When they're done, they burst out of the corpse xenomorph style to start the cycle all over again. In fact, the xenomorph from the Alien movie franchise was partly inspired by these insects. Another creature that uses the same method of reproduction is the larger and more famous tarantula hawk wasp, with a paralyzing venom capable of bringing down large tarantulas and possessing the second most painful sting in the world, topped only by the bullet ant. These creatures are another example of the brutal lengths nature will go to in order to replicate. People that have been stung by the tarantula hawk wasp and exposed to the powerful neurotoxin in their venom have said that they were unable to do anything but scream in pain. Nature does not care about the pain and suffering animals have to go through. It doesn't have the ability to care. So as long as the organism fulfills its pre-programmed desire to replicate at all costs, replication without purpose, meaning, or end goals. Just replicate to continue a chemical reaction that started some 3 billion years ago. It's amazing how clever nature has become to achieve that goal. An example I sometimes use is the botfly. A female botfly will grab a mosquito in midair and deposit her eggs on its abdomen, then release the mosquito. The mosquito will then land on a warm-blooded animal and begin to feed. The heat from the warm-blooded animal will stimulate the eggs to hatch. Then the larvae of the botfly will make their way to the hole the mosquito made to feed and climb in. There they will grow and feed on the host. When they are large enough, they will wiggle their way out of the flesh of whatever unfortunate mammal they happen to be on, including humans. After that, they fall to the ground to begin their pupa stage before entering adulthood to continue the cycle again. What amazes me is the complexity of this strategy. How does the fly know that the mosquito will land on a warm-blooded animal? How did this survival strategy evolve? It must have taken 100 million years or more. You could almost respect it if it wasn't so monstrous. Nature, through trial and error, has invented countless ways in which organisms can exploit each other in the pointless struggle for survival. In the game of biological survival, no amount of horror is off limits. Organisms are compelled to survive and replicate however they can, regardless of the ruthless or cold brutality necessary to achieve that goal. From the single-celled bacteria all the way up to the mighty blue whale, organisms are programmed to do one thing, and that is replicate. So that's why many years ago I started calling them replicators, and I still do to this day. Take away all the bells and whistles and nature is just a replicating, self-sustaining chemical reaction, an extremely complex chemical reaction, but a chemical reaction nonetheless. So if I'm out walking and see a group of animals, I call them replicators. To me, that is the purest definition of what life is. In case you were wondering, yes, I call humans replicators as well. After all, we are extremely good at it. But we'll go into that later. For now, thanks for watching, and be as safe as you can be out there.